Got me stuck in this concrete maze, desires lost in a routine haze. Clock is ticking, 9 to 5 grind, but my heart's yearning for peace of mind. Grab my boots, it's time to go. Leave behind the city's woe. Come out of her, my people, it's time. Leave the hustle and bustle behind. In the country we'll plant our seeds, chasing freedom, fulfilling our needs. Rolling fields in the open sky, green pastures where the eagles fly. Breathe the air, feel the sunlight's kiss. This is the life that I never miss. Happiness in the simple things, oh freedom sweet as a songbird sings. Come out of her, my people, it's time. Leave the hustle and bustle behind. In the country we'll plant our seeds, chasing freedom, fulfilling our needs. Rolling fields in the open sky.
All right. Well, good morning. Good morning. Can everyone see us and hear us? Okay. I'm trying to get you on the camera. The boss is here today. All right. Let's see. So we got a couple people in here. Looks like Steve was in here first. Possibly Andy. I'm not sure what we mean by that, but welcome, Steve. Good morning, Verna and Buster, Tracy, and hey, Gitros is in here. Aaron and Christine, it looks like. Well, welcome. Morning, y'all. How are you?
I'm here.
You're frozen?
I'm cold.
It is cold. It feels early to us on Sundays always.
I don't know. I feel like I've been up for hours.
Yep. All right. So.
Crocheting. Who's crocheting? What did I miss? Casey just got a miniature crochet kit that he hasn't really tried yet, so maybe we'll attack that today. But is Verna crocheting? I don't know.
Anyways, so I'm having some technical issues here as always. We couldn't upload any of our media this morning, and it looks like I'm getting texts. So someone else is having some technical issues with our stream as well. So hopefully it goes all right. Anyways, so this morning we have a topic. It's more of a discussion, kind of just getting started. And so that's garden planning and where to start, right? So it's cold, it's winter, and probably the last thing people who don't garden a lot are thinking about.
But we've been thinking about it all winter.
Yeah, we kind of never stop thinking about it. But now is the time really to get going on a plan, because that's coming up really quick. Now, depending on where you guys live, it's going to be different for everyone. We're zone 7A, 7B. We're kind of in the middle there. We're in the high desert. So it's going to be different for everyone. I know our growing season here is about 180 days long. And so
it's shorter.
A little shorter than some people's and a little different there. So we're going to be talking geared towards that. Yours may be a little bit different. You're crocheting a shrug. Very cool. I'm not sure what that is, but that sounds neat.
Like a shawl.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And I was saying Casey just got that little crocheting kit too, but he hasn't really tried it yet, but he's been wanting to learn how to crochet.
Yep. All right. So I got a few notes. Other than that, it's mostly just going to be discussion this morning. We plan on half an hour to an hour, somewhere in there. I'm sitting a lot lower than you.
This chair is really high.
I know, and this one's really low. We don't have very good chairs to have two people on stream. That's okay. So I don't know where you guys are planning. I know definitely now's the time of year where I'm seeing seed packets popping up all over our house, laying around, and starting to see things in the YouTube streams and all that of people getting ready for that. And so your garden planning is going to look wildly different depending on what area you live in, what infrastructure you have, really what you're going for altogether. So when I start looking at planning, at least my planning, which usually goes on in my head and changes. Yeah. So this year we're going to be writing down more and doing a little more organization. You're a garden planner.
I write down every year for the record. I have it planned by January or in January every year. Whether or not you then use my plans.
It changes somewhat. Yep. So this year my goal definitely is to be more organized. And so for one of the first approaches with that is the garden. That's something really big that we're coming up on. What's up, bud?
Just watching.
Okay, no problem. And so that's something really big that's coming up on. So organization is going to take a huge factor in there. So looking at planning and where to start. Some of the first things there you're going to need to look at is some basic stuff. What kind of space do you have? Are you doing this on a patio? Is it just in your backyard, a small garden? Do you have an acreage? What do you have to work with, I guess, would be the first start really to look at. And so we have here several different garden areas and a greenhouse we're going to use. I think 3 altogether. It'll be 4 next year if you count that garlic area.
Okay.
And also what areas you have, what plants you're wanting to grow, what types of garden. So are you looking at just a garden, a prepper garden, or a garden, or just a homestead garden to help feed some of your family, stuff like that? Are you looking for a market garden? You're going to be selling things at farmers market, or are you looking for a garden to help feed your animals, chickens and stuff like that?
Which we were talking about this morning.
A little bit if you're growing grains or
amaranth, pumpkins,
things like that are good for the animals,
for the chickens.
That does not follow directions, no.
Or medicinal, like,
Yeah. Or maybe you're doing an herbal garden. It could be a culinary herbal garden. Maybe you just lump that in with your vegetable garden, or you like to do a lot of culinary herbs, so it's a separate garden. A medicinal garden.
Yep.
And these gardens can be separate. They can be by themselves. Here's your medicinal, here's your vegetable, here's your market. Or they can be kind of mixed in. And
which I try to do a lot of companion planting,
right.
And usually you can mix in those herbs or medicinal or culinary things with your vegetables and fruits for that purpose, for the companion planting.
A lot of them are going to be companion planting. And companion planting is not always just between 2 plants. It can also be what plants do you plant near the chickens or for them, like we just kind of discussed. So companion planting can be that way too. So this is where planting
flowers
to bring in the pollinators, definitely. So this is where garden planning, I think, is really going to take effect if you're wanting to take that next step in your garden. Developing what you have, what you want, and where it's going to go, because this is going to kind of play like a musical chairs almost in your garden, I think, as you look at what plants need to go where based on what space you have, what infrastructure you have, what microclimates you have. And that's a whole topic in itself I'd like to talk about sometimes, because you may be in a certain climate zone, but as we noticed in our yard, you definitely have a lot of microclimates. So you're going to have a shadier area or a hotter area, areas that get more sun, different things like that.
Heat from the stone walls.
Right, yeah. The geothermal almost. So our brick walls produce a lot of heat. And that was something I noticed at least this year, was planting like pepper plants and things like that up along the wall. I think did really well because that wall holds and retains heat throughout the day, and then we'll release it when that area of the garden's getting shade. So knowing your garden is.
What type of pest control you need in which area, because things are going to come from a specific area where bugs might be coming in, but the chickens might get them, or coming from another area that might have like dogs on the other fence or something.
So really, in my opinion, this is stuff that is really stuff you can only get from doing it a couple years, really. And so when we first started, it was really kind of throw everything at the wall and see what sticks, what we like, what grows where.
I liked my chaos gardens.
It was, we started off with a lot of the chaos gardens and stuff. And a lot of that we learned a lot. So when you look at your own garden and planning the next year ahead, and when we look at ours, one of the big things I do look at is infrastructure. Because the infrastructure of our garden is going to affect the microclimate of the garden. It's going to provide shade to different areas. It's going to keep out pests. Maybe some of our infrastructure has bird netting. So like cherry tomatoes are things that the birds really like to get at. It's a good idea to have
cucumbers,
maybe those nets over.
attacked my cucumbers this last
Yeah,
year.
some of the companion planting is going to be for insect control too. So nasturtiums, which are great in salads, they're really good for you. They're good for the chickens. Are also really good to plant near your brassicas, things like broccoli and stuff like that, because it supposedly helps keep away the pests from there. And so different ones like that. We also do some companion planting just because they're things we like.
So like the basil with the tomatoes, it was pointing out it utilizes nature, but it also can help with spacing. So if you have spacing between tomatoes, so that the plant can grow, you can throw basil and it doesn't take as much energy, it doesn't pull too much energy from the tomato plant itself.
No.
And then you get that basil with
that basil's really going to enjoy that microclimate again there, being under the tomatoes where it gets that shade. And all. Now, the good thing with tomatoes is one of the things you do want to do is cut off all those leaves on the bottom levels. And a lot of people are afraid to do that. Even we were, every year to cut away part of your plant. But that way you're not going to be getting mildews or things or as susceptible to them. The leaves are really what are real susceptible on tomato plants in particular to getting blights and diseases and things. And when they're close to the soil, that's when you're really picking it up. So keeping a companion plant down low near it really helps. Plus, it's really tasty to
So
grow.
I was about to say, because Farmer Casey's over here, that Farmer Casey loves the companion planting because then he can just go get some basil and some tomato and walk around making himself little. Sometimes he'll put them on sticks, which I'm sure you guys have seen in the firesides, and then he'll go and roast them. And
it's like that End of the World movie we watched. We watched this movie, not to throw it out there, Adam, but we watched the movie, the Finch movie, and in it he pops popcorn and he says, "Is this still good to eat? It's 15 years old." And I think he tells him like lesson 5, live a little. So maybe living a little in the garden too is a good idea. Having the basil is something that can definitely be a market garden thing. Under the tomatoes may not be the best spot for it in that aspect, but it definitely works for us. It's living a little, right? We get to go enjoy it.
Basil.
Hey, we got Sanctified in here. Good morning.
By somebody.
Shalom.
Basil will get eaten, it will get harvested, or it could get dried, used in the winter. This year we froze some of it so I can make pestos. So basil got used.
Yeah.
I like my basil.
It got used. That reminds me, I need to do something with Sanctified later. Anyways, okay, yeah. So definitely. Sorry, I know I'm rabbit trailing a little bit. So back to planning and where to start. So this is our basic brainstorming, gathering kind of session on what we want where, what worked where, and what plants we want to go with this year. From this, we can start developing lists of what plants we have. And I think it, at least when I approached it this year and a little bit last year, but dividing it up. While the gardens themselves may not be divided up, the planning in the sections really helps. So your personal garden, your market garden, maybe your animal garden, herbal garden, medicinal garden, whatnot. So break it up in paper on those ways, and then start listing out those plants that you need. Now, getting into that, there's a whole lot of this is a kind of a loaded thing. We could really break this down into a lot of topics, and I probably will as the year goes on. But are you planting seeds? Are you starting from seeds, or are you buying your plants? Because that's going to make a world of difference as well. If you're just buying your plants, which I have no problem with, some people are. You must plant from seed. You must buy. If you have an option to buy. Maybe not from the big box store. If you have a somewhere that someone's selling, and that's actually something I'm doing a little bit of. So I'll talk about that in a minute. But don't play with that, please, bud. Oh, yeah. We have an avocado tree growing in here.
He's pruning it.
Oh, okay. Good job. What was I saying?
You're saying that something you're going to see. This is why somebody should be with you. That you're going to be doing a bit of that this year, and you're talking about the selling plants.
I do want to rabbit trail. I'm going to pause for a minute. I was talking about selling the plants and going from there. So whether you're going to seed start or buy plants, maybe plants from a local grower would be great. That's awesome. I do think everyone should know how to start from seed. I think that's important. Now, our goal or our plan, I guess, is to always start from seed, and we'll get into that. And then what doesn't work out, maybe we can purchase.
Yeah.
But I'm going to pause real quick because I got something in the mail. It reminded me. So this is unrelated, but it reminded me, and it came yesterday, and it's something I'm excited about. So I'm going to show off here. Jerry actually popping in reminded me here. CDB loves rabbit trails. Hey, CDB, you got it working. Good. All right. Verna will be right back. She needs some more coffee. So if you guys have watched a little bit, no, you can't see right here, but I got my Sanctified hats and things like that. So I get a bunch of their shirts. I really like them. I don't know if you know. Did I tell you this?
I don't know.
So one of the things they're offering is a shirt subscription.
Oh.
So once a month I can get a shirt. And my shirts, I was going through looking at mine, and they're pretty raggedy and
Just talking about this.
yeah. So I need a few. Anyways, so I signed up for their shirt subscription. It helps them out, and I think it's really cool. And I actually got my first one from it in. So I haven't even opened it. So I figure I'll show that real quick, and then we'll hop right back into garden planning. Yeah, just on their website, it's really cool. Once a month you get one, and they pick, so it's always a surprise, which I think is kind of really cool.
Definitely, Steve. Definitely.
What Steve's saying, learning what can be transplanted and what direct sow is learning experience. Yes. Also, how to do it. So I got a few tricks on soil amendments and transplanting tips that really worked out last year. And I didn't share last year because I wasn't sure how they were going to work, but I'm going to share this year. So the end of this month, we're getting into soil amending and building soil. We'll talk about that in some videos and live streams. And so with that, I have a special transplanting part too. But let me show this real quick. So I haven't even looked at it yet. It's don't grow weary in doing good. Don't grow weary in doing good. Galatians 6:9. And let us not grow weary of doing good, for in due season we will reap if we do not give up. That is awesome. Wonderful shirt. So thank you, Jerry and Lucia there.
No, I don't have to buy you a shirt. No, I'm just
So that's the first of that subscription. Yeah, so I'm really excited about it. And then let's go ahead and hop back on topic, though. I got my rabbit trail there.
So, Steve, also learning what your area can transplant or not transplant is a really good thing too, because or what you have time for. So, for example, lettuce every year, it says on everything I find for our area to seed start inside, but it is really hard for me personally to take the time and transplant lettuce like as they grow. So I often just direct sow because it's easier and less time consuming for us. So
yeah, so some seeds start inside. Some plants we may end up growing. Cherry tomatoes is a good example of that. Cherry tomatoes is one we don't have good luck with. And this is back to infrastructure. This is going to be personal infrastructure. So if you are looking at seed starting, there's a whole thing there too. Do you have the space? Where are you going to put these plants? Yeah. Do you have the lighting? So you can see we got lighting out here right now. That can get pretty expensive.
Do you have the pots?
We slowly buy that. Do you have all the pots? So you can probably see here.
Hey, you wanted pots, so I...
Hey, Al's here. Welcome, Al. Yeah, so do you have the infrastructure to seed start? Now, when we first started, it was let's plant a bunch of seeds inside. We had pots and things going everywhere.
Red Solo cups.
Solo cups, that's kind of been our go-to. But we didn't have the lighting. So everything got really lanky. It kind of died off. I wouldn't consider that a success. So then we were starting getting some lights.
It was a success in learning.
And the lights are fairly expensive, at least for us, on a budget. So we pick up one, maybe two a year. But we've started building them. And then some shelving units. I like the shelving units for plant starts because it's easy to hang the lights and then raise and lower them. The metal ones work better. And so we'll show that this year.
You're awfully loud.
Oh, sorry. Am I screaming at you?
Yes.
I get excited.
I know.
I'll calm down.
That better not be coffee.
So I'm having my Harmony tea, actually. The herbal tea blend.
Okay.
You have green tea.
Okay.
Actually, I haven't had that much coffee today. I get excited about getting into spring and summer. Winter's not my gig.
Green tea has been my new go-to
Verna says
when I'm not drinking coffee.
If you make your own pots out of newspaper, so I've heard about that. Yeah, or shipping paper. When you order things online, then you have to transplant them. Yeah, that's a great idea. It's something to look into.
We don't get newspapers.
I used to deliver it, and we don't even have any anymore.
But let's see, shipping paper. Maybe.
We actually don't
I'd have
have
to
a lot
think
of
about
extra
that.
paper. I reuse all the shipping paper and stuff to ship things.
So I do get
We
like
could
my
buy
Thrive
paper.
my Thrive
Oh,
orders.
that comes
My
with
Thrive
some
and I
corrugated.
do Thrive and Misfits, which is some imperfect type foods that we get and try different things. And those both come with reusable, recyclable materials. So
That might
maybe
be something to look into this year. Someone should do a video on it if we don't, but on little containers and stuff. I have a lot of videos I'd like to do, but I'm trying to stick to my plan right now and get that done at least. So anyways, do you have the infrastructure inside for seed starting? Heat mats, the plant seed heat mats, those definitely are a plus. All right, so you got that going, or we got some of that going. We've decided we're going to start most of our plants inside. And for sake of this discussion, we're going to say that we've got our lists of the plants we want to grow. Ones we want to sell, ones we were going to use for medicinal herbs, ones for vegetables for personal garden, things maybe to try at farmer's market, things to grow for the chickens. An extensive list, but we'll say we got this done. Oh, and plants we have going right now, because we still have garlic, onions, avocado. Some
my
are looking at the
arugula out
garden.
there.
Yes.
I went out there and I have it's just because it went to seed out there, but there's arugula random places out there right now that I think I might go harvest. I didn't realize we're growing.
Yeah, so that's something you look at your garden too, is are you tearing everything up and restarting?
Yep.
Do you have plants that are going like the asparagus?
Yeah.
So that's something that's in there for a few years. So that's going to be, we don't want to tear that up. Another thing I noticed was we have a lot of not companion plants.
Perennial?
No, when they just show up. What's it called?
Volunteer?
Volunteer, yeah. So we have a lot of volunteer plants. And those are ones you want because a lot of times they're the hardiest.
Yeah.
And best. So like our chamomile, which is kind of spread. Now I know from last year where those volunteer ones are, so I don't really want to disturb that as much. I'm hoping they'll come back.
Amaranth comes back. We planted amaranth 1 year, and
so write all these down, all these things on list.
Now
maybe what we should do is get like the big paper, things and jot all these down, because you're gonna have to kind of play musical chairs with your garden. You're gonna have to figure out what goes where,
roll
where
of
you can
butcher
put it.
paper in there.
Yeah.
That we could
Also looking at, have you grown a certain crop a couple years in that soil? Something that takes a lot of the nitrogen out of the soil.
That vitamin deficiency.
Right. So maybe
could
this year you're going to want to
affect
switch it up and grow some beans or something that's going to put a lot of nitrogen into that soil. So a lot of things that look at. So that's why you want to start planting early. But I think I do keep rabbit trailing a lot.
Look, Steve is going to make us some containers out of paper.
Oh, I mean, yeah, there you go. That works. Another thing I want to talk about is, now if you're just buying your plants, you know how many you need for the most part. Maybe you're buying them, keep them inside for a little bit, see a few extra in case some die. When you seed start, how many should you plant? Really, that was something we ran into. Are you just filling up whole trays of seeds and going at it, and then you end up with 1 million tomato plants and not?
I always feel like it's better to have more than not enough. And worst case scenario, as you mentioned, if you have more, we can sell them.
So
last year, I even just gave a couple plants away because there were some friends of ours who were gardening for the first time, and they couldn't. It was a little late for them to seed start, and they just moved into it. And in fact, they just moved again this year, so they need plants this year. But it's a great opportunity to get people to garden and teach them and help them by gifting them those extra plants or selling them.
So, and then you got right on track with where I was going. So how many seeds do you want to plant? First of all, as far as what we need for our garden, I have learned about double does, because you're going to lose about a quarter of the plants, either in the seeds not popping up or dying kind of initially.
Or disease or pests.
Right, and then about double to a little bit more, because then you're going to lose another quarter maybe in transplanting and pests and all. So you do want to plant more seeds than the plants you need. We have a couple extra factors though that we look at. Some of our plants, I started last year with doing a consult type thing that I'm going to be doing again this year, where I go to a friend's house and we pick out the plants that we've already done, and so I have some extra plants that I'm going to go plant for him and get his garden started. So I'll have some plants for that. I sold some plants. You gave some away. That's something we'd like to do this year too. So maybe be that supplier of those plants that other people either haven't or couldn't grow. So we want to
Well, sometimes people are just scared
Start that way.
to start it. And if you just gift them a plant, they're like, oh, I have to do this now, or I'm going to do this.
yeah, then maybe they'll hop in and start with
And
gardening.
it's like an addiction.
It's a
too.
little
Once
easier
you
than just
start-
giving someone some quail. You just hand them
True.
some quail.
So that's another thing.
Maybe they're going to live.
So that's another thing, although now I'm rabbit trailing, is that we don't have tons of space indoors to do these things.
Yeah,
So
We're very limited.
when we take time to seed start inside and have those seeds or cups or pots or whatever, we're probably not going to be incubating. We're not going to be hatching.
Well, we fill this house up.
because we don't have the space for it. So we have to pause that.
With having the space too, it's also having the space with proper lighting. So we can put things everywhere, but if we don't have that proper lighting at the proper height and temperature, also there's other things your plants need. I have a big fan sitting down here for our avocado trees. You want some fans. You want to create some wind. That's going to strengthen those plants from the beginning. So the resistance or whatnot that you're giving those plants is going to strengthen them.
Yeah.
They need a little bit of that. Also, there's some other things you can do, and I'm going to be getting into this with soil amending. And so one of the big issues we have in our garden every year is insects. Everyone has insect pest problems. We like to do all organic, all natural. That's what I'm allowed to say. So I do have a all natural pill bug pest control that we're going to put out right away this year. Because the last 2 years, one of our big problems with our new starts, our plants, is those pill bugs just wiped out all the new starts.
Although I have been saving eggshells,
help?
not just for calcium, but because I heard that the pill bugs, I mean,
It'll break their shell.
it'll break their shell and kill them or get rid of
Use some
them.
big pots.
So-
I had to use some big pots here. Way too many roots.
So getting bigger sized pots was something we really thought of this year, because last year I got him, these trays in the pictures and things
Yeah.
like that. But if they're going to be inside for a while, they need room
So
to grow.
when you're planting too, you really need to know when your plants can go outside. So here in New Mexico, where we're at, our last frost is mid-April. It warms
Actually,
up
this year
before
it's
that.
a little later too.
Yeah, it's a little later. So it warms up before that, and everyone here goes and buys all their plants and puts them in the ground, and then they die.
Mhm.
Every year without fail. And I try to tell everyone to wait a little bit before you get them in the ground. Besides some of the direct sow ones, lettuces or things like that,
They can
that like
handle
the
cold weather. Yeah.
that can handle it.
Brassicas.
We want to wait a little bit. So you don't want your plants to get root bound. So do you have the containers and space inside? So you want to plan time that right. So for us, that's about Valentine's Day. So mid-February, we start our seed starts inside. So next month, our lives and our videos are going to be really heavy on that. That's going to be started and so that gives it a good 2 months before they're really set outside. Now, that's a little bit too long. So the first year we ran into that. Last year, I was able to get my greenhouse completed enough in the spring that we could actually move the plants when they were at that stage where they were kind of getting too big and lighting was being a problem, rooting. We were able to move them out to the greenhouse, and that worked amazing.
We did do a trickle effect, which we'll do again this year. So you don't start all your plants at once inside.
Yeah.
you do levels. You do. Oh, I'm doing like I have
kind
a
of like
list
you plant corn
in stages. So I'm going to plant these ones and then move those
I see what
outside,
you
and
mean,
plant these ones and move those outside. You don't do them all at once.
So with starting seeds, I did want to mention too, and I really want to do a whole seed start thing, but seeds take different times to germinate, to grow. So some of them you really want to start off early. Now, I mentioned earlier, we have about 160 to 180 day growing season where we're at. So some plants take well over 100 days to grow, develop, and dry, such as the loofahs. So that was something we had great success with this year.
Pumpkins in general, or gourds, we struggle not to necessarily grow, but to getting them to be ready in time for harvest, or to be.
So those we got to start
ready.
right away. And those are ones that can get really lanky because they are vines. So that's something else to look at with those. The greenhouse worked out really well with that. Now my greenhouse this year is not quite warm enough in the dead of winter here, even with the quail. A couple things are alive. Peppermint,
Don't tell him
thyme.
he can get more quail to put in there.
but it's just not quite warm enough for that. So I'm going to be excited again to be able to use it in the spring for the seed starts, and then fall this year too, to prolong our season.
Keep in mind too, and Verna had mentioned, what about the greenhouse? We still have things already in the greenhouse.
Yeah.
So it is already, I mean, it has quail, but it has other things
So
in
there's
there
peppermint,
already.
thyme, sage.
A lot of my herbal
Some of
things
those
that
are
I've
still
been
alive.
using all winter.
And it is dropping
cooking.
below freezing in there every night. It's about in the very low, about 20 degrees at night here, but in the greenhouse,
She said you need a couple
30.
rabbits. And
I do, and I've been wanting to do that. And yes.
I want goats though.
Part of the problem with my greenhouse is it gets very, very hot in the summer here, and because of when I built it with a peak on the top so as to vent out, so it's not getting too hot, but I think that's hurting it in the winter here. So I do plan on expanding the greenhouse. It's half the size it's supposed to be. The other half is going to be much taller, and that's going to be for trees. Avocado tree, some of the other trees we're going to be doing this year. And this is for sale again, and for when we move. But we have a ton of peach pits from our peach tree that we grew from Peach Pit. That's a family tree. Came from your parents there. So
Verna, what about mini goats?
Yes.
Dwarf goats.
What about me?
She's saying, because she says we
We
need
don't
half
have
an
one.
acre.
Yeah, I know.
But what about
We're
for-
going to be moving soonish, but yeah. Oh, you clean right away. I got mine done the other day, and I did it like you guys said on your stream last night when it was frozen, and I did that on purpose because it was much easier to clean out when those trays are frozen. So I thought I got a kick out of it when you and Graham were talking about that.
She said dwarf goats is
Oh.
good. So it's Verna approved. So I
We're
know
on
we
a
were
quarter
talking
acre.
about space, but so this is how the whole goat thing started. I don't know. I saw something on goats. Sorry, rabbit trail.
Yeah, good. That's fine.
And I looked out
I was
the
just to say we're gonna be planting these in the greenhouse.
and I
for
looked
sale.
and I looked out the backyard, and our grass is dying, you know, and I turned and looked at Matt, and I was like, what do we use this grass for? Because it used to be a place for the kids to play, and do some things like that. But now, you know, Casey's outside on his bike, or we're out doing things. Kate's working and in sports, and we do other things in the garden with the kids, but not necessarily on the grass. And I was like, this is just wasted area. What could we do with this area?
That's funny you say that, Steve. So was it last week, or I don't know, time goes quick. A while ago, I came walking out into my kitchen, and the door had either been blown open or pushed open by the dog. But I walk out into the kitchen, and one of our chickens is standing in the kitchen.
This Sizzle. She comes
Yep.
in all the time. She thinks she's just part of the.
Yeah, you can. I did not. So if you want to save your pepper plants, this will save you months of time on your pepper plants. And what you want to do in the fall, or when they die off, they're not producing, is trim them all down, pretty much. Just the main stem, dig them up, put them in a pot, bring them inside, or the greenhouse. I did not do that.
Matt freaks out every year when I top our pepper plants, and he's like, "What happened? Did something get them?" And I'm like, "No, I top them at the beginning of the beginning of the season," and he freaks out that something's eating them because it's scary to top your pepper plants.
Yeah.
It
Well,
makes
it's
you
the
feel
same
like
with the tomato plants, because when you first when you first start growing them, and
you don't want to hurt it.
You're a new gardener. People go and they get their plant from the store, and they think, "Oh, I bought this one. It's got a flower on it, and it's going to have a tomato right away. That's awesome." And they plant it, and they get the tomato, and the plant does all right, but not so well. You got to pull those flowers off. And that's something that people kind of freak out about. And I did it first too. Why would you do that? Pull those fruits off, because what you're growing in the first month, at least, really, maybe a little bit more, but that first month is you're growing roots. You're not trying to grow the foliage or the plants yet. You're trying to set the roots. So tomatoes are an interesting one, because they will grow roots all along the stem. And I did a video last year on planting tomatoes. I'm going to do it again this year, because you take that plant that you've grown inside or you've bought, and you trim off a lot of the bottom of it. Clear those leaves off. You plant the plant in the ground almost sideways, horizontally, and it will grow up, because what you're doing is creating an enormous root structure, a good foundation or base for that plant. Now, with getting into soil amendments and some of the things I'm going to be doing proactively this year, one of them's using willow bark or something else. I don't really want to say what it is. I guess we can. I was going to wait till I got to that video, but so willow bark is also aspirin.
Oh, we talked. Yeah.
Yeah, and so you can use a uncoated, touch, just pure aspirin. Crush it up, mix it with water, and I'm going to do a video on this. And it can be used to spray foliage once a month, but also can be used as a soil treatment initially or a root treatment that's really going to help strengthen the immune system of the plant, thus helping with yield and stuff. So that's a whole other video and thing we'll get into. But it's going to be on proactively doing things to our plants so as to help with insects and yield and stuff like that. So that kind of gets me into where I want to go a little bit in our next topic. What were you going to say there?
Clark had a question. So he said, if you have a small area, say 3 by 8 foot, what would your top picks for plants be? And I think it depends. So what are you going to,
what's your plan for it? Is it a salsa garden?
So we talked about the beginning.
Are you doing a medicinal herb? What I would do personally, 3 by 8. So that's about the size of the garden of the buddy I help plant stuff out. And for example, he kind of wants a salsa / spaghetti almost garden. So what we plant in his garden is he wants a cherry tomato plant. He wants a beefsteak tomato or aroma plant. He likes he gets a yellow squash and then also a pepper plant and then a few companions. So I think a jalapeno and a cayenne pepper. Those are because those are things he likes and they can be planted there well. You could do a Three Sisters garden. If you're wanting, you could throw up. Now in a 3 by 8, you're probably going to get, I don't know, maybe like 6 corn stalks. And then you could do beans around those and a squash at the bottom to cover. Maybe. If you're liking herbs more, if it was me personally, it'd probably be herb heavy and pepper heavy.
Yeah.
Because that's what I like.
I would do tomato, herbs, peppers, and then vertical gardening is your friend. So tomato cages are not. Yeah, tomato cages are not just for tomatoes. Tomato cages are great for zucchini and squash. If you want to make some calabacitas.
Yeah. So in the 3 by 8, I would definitely take advantage of the vertical space. So if the sun's coming in heavier on one side, maybe plant the tomatoes on that opposite. So that way the front garden still gets a lot of the sun. And then the tomatoes or zucchini or cucumber, or whatever you're growing that's vining up the back, can get that sun. I'd definitely take advantage of that.
Basically, Clark, you just need to have Matt come out.
Yeah.
And survey the area, tell him what you like and you dislike, and he can.
We'll develop some companion. You're going to want at least a couple flowers in there to attract pollinators. Mm-hmm. So that's something that's good to throw in. You can even throw in flowers that are edible. That's a bonus.
Nasturtium.
Yeah. Or different things like that. Carrots are a good one to put in the soil under things like tomatoes or stuff. Or onions, because they're going to grow, they're a bulb, so you're taking advantage of not only the space above the soil, but below as well.
Mm-hmm. Radishes. I like to do
radishes are great. Radishes grow quick, so radishes you can really produce a lot of.
You can do radishes
You could grow radishes early in the year.
Though you just keep
dig them up and then grow something else there, and then when that something else dies off because cool weather crop, grow more radishes. So in a 3 by 8, I think. Keeping track or planning what you want to plant when, if that makes sense. So have some crops that grow fast, like the radishes and lettuces up front, and then in the back, some that take a little longer. There's a lot you could do there. Yeah. It's really going to be on what you're looking for personally. Do you want a bunch of tomatoes?
Yeah.
Maybe do an all tomato garden if that's your thing.
The other thing is you don't have to do 10 varieties of plants. If you're not going to eat all those varieties, it might look pretty, it might sound exciting, but do what you're going to use.
Yeah. So I do what we're going to use, and we get more and more of that every year. I do like to plant a few extras too, just because we do the YouTube thing. So that's, some, I'm curious too. So I like to do some curious things. Last year, we didn't really get onto our grafting projects, but I do want to do that this year more. Like this is something, Clark, you can do. So if you want in that 3 by 8, you can plant potatoes below ground. Mm-hmm. And when that plant gets up so high and you've added more soil and got up to the top of your pot and it's so high, you can actually cut that plant off and graft a tomato plant onto the top of it because they're from the same family. And if you do it right, you'll have potatoes below ground and tomatoes above ground. And so there's a way you can really double that space. Yeah. So we'll have to do a video on that this year. But there's a lot you can do in small space. We are all about small space gardening here, packing as much as we can into the space. Now, we garden for several reasons. We homestead / prep garden. So we definitely we want to feed our family. So we're doing things for that.
We want to feed them food that we know what's in it, where it came
Yeah,
from,
all natural good stuff.
you know, and not, yeah.
We sell
It's
herbal
health
teas
reasons.
and stuff, so we grow for that.
Mhm.
So we plant towards that. And that looks even a little different. So those are mostly in pots because I can control it better. Those are treated a little bit differently, cared for a little better, I guess, just because I'm reselling that.
Well, they get so herbs for us at least get constant attention. In case you hadn't noticed, we like to cook.
Yeah.
Casey likes to cook, so it's getting constant
Are you
attention.
going to use pesticides and things? Because if you're going to be using the pesticides and those types of fertilizers and stuff, it might be a little easier for you planting. I don't know, that may not matter to you. It matters to us a little bit. So our pesticides are all natural stuff. So we use like cold pressed neem oils, the aspirin spray, some things like that. But that's going to be different too on what plants are you using that for. So spraying a foliage spray on something like a plant that is like an unfruiting tomato, it's just the leaves in that stage, or a plant that you're not eating the leaves, is going to be different than spraying plants like lettuces or things that you're eating the leaves. So that you can do both, but you want to make sure you're not harvesting. It's like with the cold pressed neem oil. When we spray certain plants, we'll spray those to get rid of aphids. Now, you want to be really careful what you spray because they'll kill things like bees and stuff too. So you don't want to spray flowers or things that the bees are going to be getting pollen from. So you want to be really careful with that. You also don't want to harvest what you spray. So like leafy greens, within about 3 days of spraying that neem oil. That's just a safety buffer zone.
And so that's a good point too, because you want to be careful. You want to be careful that if you have children, for example, who are just going to go into the garden, Farmer Casey goes out there and he'll just pick things. He doesn't ask to pick things. He just picks things and plops them in his mouth. Yeah. So, you know, are we watching, making sure that he's not going to go eat something that was recently sprayed? So when I spray neem oil,
I actually do that on purpose too. I'll do it on days when he's in school or I know he's probably not going to be out there. I do selectively do that because we do have the child that runs through the garden and we have other family members that may not know what we've done to it. Or the
dogs might go get it.
Our dogs love to pick things and eat them. Yeah. Chickens. Will eat things. So it's very important what I spray or when and any pesticide. So this year we're going to attack that heavier with preventive stuff, with companion planting, and then to keep away birds and stuff, bird nets, stuff like that. So I do have, and we are approaching an hour, so I want to get on here a little bit.
Sorry, rabbit trails.
Captain Jackson. Well, this is really...
I always like focus, Matt, but I'm over here
So this is really a discussion that needs to be broken down into probably a dozen different ones, you know, climate, microclimate, soil biome, what seeds you're starting. We can really, pest control. So what we're doing now is we're just having the garden planning initial discussion, the brainstorming. You're kind of getting a lot.
We'll have 20 more of these discussions.
Yeah, you're not really specific, but these will go all the way through spring and all.
And then even after we started growing, there will be more discussions.
Oh, I've heard of that. Yeah. Hey there. Hey, Dad. Good to see you. Morning. Yeah, so a whole lot you can do. So moving on a little bit here. When you're selecting your plants, this is something I heard Christina mention in one of hers. She says she's not doing loofahs this year. So there's some plants you grow that you may get a lot of that can last you over an extra year. So you may want to use that space in your garden for other things. So she's not growing loofahs this year because she got way too many.
Enough. Yeah.
So that space can be utilized for other plants. Now this year, we did loofahs, but we want to do more this second year just because it was the first year figuring out how to make a loofah sponge, how to do those different things. So next year, we're going to explore them a little bit. So we will be growing those, but there's certain plants we may not grow.
So we're not going to grow eggplant.
We're not going to grow eggplant.
Because we keep growing it and nobody's eating it. Yeah. And I don't know if I'm not doing it right, which is completely possible, but I'm just not a fan. And I'm not a picky person, but I'm just not a fan. So I don't want to plant it this year when we could be utilizing that space for things that we will eat. This year we want to do...
It's not marigolds. What plant is it that I threw away now? I always want to call it marigold. I wanted to bring that up again.
Oh, gosh.
They grow the little like blue and purple little cool...
I know.
Morning glories.
Morning glories.
Okay, so I get this wrong on my streams all the time. Marigolds are excellent to plant. Plant marigolds. Morning glories are another one I have to be careful. They're excellent at keeping away pests and things,
but not good
but
for
their
the
seeds are toxic to the chickens and they can actually choke on them. So we have chickens that roam around. So morning glories, I want to kill any morning glory. We just have so much we're experimenting with. We just aren't going to do it this next year. Okay, so you may have some plants that you like, but you're not going to plant.
Sorry, apple gourds.
Oh,
I
okay.
wanna know-
So you're doing the apple gourds instead.
I'm going to have to look up what an apple gourd is.
You're out of the garden discussion this year.
We did
Oh, okay.
acorn gourds. Is that what they are?
Marigolds
did
too.
really
Oh,
well.
hey, great. They make them dark. So I know, there's different folic acid will do that. That's awesome. Oh, okay. Verna loves her sweet potatoes. I know that for sure.
See, and we had some accidental sweet potato slips grow on our shelf last year.
Yeah.
And they went in, but not a lot.
I just
You
wanted
guys
to say,
don't eat a
'cause
lot of sweet potatoes.
Not everyone may know. So I'm going to go on a little side trail here, and then I do got to get on. We got about 15 minutes still, and that's about what I got left. So my little side trail. This is my wonderful wife, Jen, also known as Spicy Mom or Spice of Life. You'll see her in the chats quite a bit. So our channel,
Bringing it back on track.
so
usually.
our YouTube channel actually started off the Spice of Life channel, and we had some little videos of the kids and things like that. And my saying that I like to say a lot is idiosyncrasies are the spice of life, and we're the spiciest. And so we started off as the Spice of Life channel, the Spicy Peach Farms, being because I like to grow peppers. And then one of the first plants that we have that we're really proud of is our peach tree. I grew that. I ate a peach. I threw the pit in the ground, a peach that came from
my
Jen's
mom.
mother. And I threw that in the ground, and it
From her
popped up
tree.
and it grew. And now we have an enormous peach tree that gave us more peaches than we knew what to do with this year. We had peach butter and peach everything. We still have peach everything.
And it means a lot to me because
Yeah.
my mom passed away a few years ago,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I feel like this is definitely something.
We've lost a lot of family these last few years. So that's some of the plants we have from those family members definitely mean a lot more.
So another thing we'll be planting this year. Sorry, I'm getting all teary-eyed. Is something from a family member that just passed away.
Yeah.
So
my grandfather just passed away. My grandfather he's kind of like an Indiana Jones type guy, but he was
Indiana
he was into gardening too, definitely. And so one of the things that I still have from them they gave us was some watermelon seeds that we came across in a box this year. Let me show you our seed box. I don't know. We just have. It doesn't look crazy there. I guess.
But
everywhere.
it was extremely memorable because he passed away a week or two ago now, and we just this week went through a big box of seeds, found things that
family
we never did, and it was just
segue.
It was just perfect though that we found those seeds.
So you may have
him.
some heirloom seeds,
And
some family heirloom
Mima.
seeds that you want to keep going and perpetuate. So that's something to look at. And that actually is a good segue into my next little part here, because I want to talk for a minute about when you're selecting plants, whether it be seeds or plants themselves, are you selecting hybrid or heirloom? And both are fine. And both are fine. And some people are all about only heirloom or all about hybrid. So hybrid plants are just plants that have been selectively bred to fight disease or to produce something. And they're great. If you're just buying a plant and you're going to be buying plants every year, or starting seeds you buy from somewhere every year, that's cool. Go with hybrids. They're probably going to help you out, with pest control and stuff like that. However, where heirlooms really come in handy and you want is if you're planning on seed saving at all.
Yes.
So if you're going to be seed saving and you want that same plant year after year, you're going to want an heirloom plant. And that's going to really affect your garden planning. So this may be another little musical chair moment where you got to move things around in the garden. If you're seed saving, such as tomatoes, now there's certain plants, I talk about it from time to time, I'll seed save, and we even put some of those seeds in our shop because it's the only plant of that variety we have, like our snake gourds or our red mustard greens or different things like that. They're not going to cross-pollinate, and you're not going to get a hybrid or something different in our yard. Mm-hmm. So the problem with hybrids is if you're planting their seeds that you save, that seed, you might get that hybrid plant. More than likely, you're going to get something different. It may revert back to one of the parent plants, or it may just be something entirely different, something you like or don't. Mm-hmm. It's going to be kind of a mystery box there with growing a hybrid. So some of the seeds I do sell because we know that they're true to what they are. Some I don't, and we don't really save, like our tomatoes. Now, we have small space gardening, so our gardens are going to be pretty compact. And I believe it's about, I think the stat is 200 feet. You want your plants 200 feet from each other if it's like the two different varieties of tomatoes.
We don't do that.
So they don't cross-pollinate. It might be more than that, but so they don't cross-pollinate, and so you're not getting a hybrid. There's ways around that. You could take little bags and put them around the flower. Once you can like get a little paintbrush and self-pollinate a flower and then put a bag on it so you know it's not going to be pollinated by anything else. And that's going to grow you true to that plant. So if you're doing all heirloom and your plants are close together.
I use a Q-tip to pollinate.
Yeah, we do a lot of self-pollination anyways. But
and zucchinis.
if you're planting them close together and you do have heirlooms and you do want to seed save, like this year with the watermelon, we're going to have other watermelons over there, Crimson Sweets and other gourds and things. So that's an heirloom that I want to grow, but I also want to continue saving its seeds. So that one, I will self-pollinate a flower as soon as it opens and bag it up with a little mesh bag so it can't be pollinated again. And then what you do is you once that fruit starts growing, it obviously can't be pollinated again. So you just tie a little ribbon on that plant or something, and then you know that particular one, the seeds from that are going to be true. And you can save them that way. And we got someone else, Johanna, the warrior of Yah. Hey, shalom, welcome. Love to know how to keep deer out of your garden. Something natural will not harm. Now, I may not be the best for you there.
We're a bit urban, homesteading eventually.
Yeah, it can be. So we're also in a urban area. So what your neighbors plant can affect that too. Now, we are lucky, we're in a neighborhood here where, and a lot of New Mexico, to be honest, in the urban areas at least, it's just xeriscape. So it's a lot of rocks, there's maybe a couple trees or rose bushes, but most people, it's just dirt or gravel. Not a lot. Even the commercial properties, dirt, gravel. So where we're at, we don't have that affected. I don't do bees here though for that reason, because the bees do go a lot further and I'm afraid of them being around in the commercial properties and picking up insecticides and things. But that's a great point, Steve. That is something to think about. Are your neighbors, so if you're growing your tomatoes along the edge of your property and your neighbor's garden happens to be near that edge of the property too, and they're doing tomatoes, you're going to get cross-pollination there. So that may be where you want to use little bags. That may just be your thing. As far as keeping deer out of the garden, we're in an urban area. Once again, we have our urban homestead. So we have birds, we have cats, squirrels, occasional skunk, some animals. Like, we don't have deer. If a deer got over our wall in the garden, I don't know what I would do. So I can't really help you there.
And I mean, our worst enemy sometimes here is
my suggestion for
people,
deer would be,
honestly.
From what I hear, a lot of people do the electric fences, real tall fences, things like that. Maybe do a sacrificial garden. So this is actually something I wanted to bring up a little bit too.
I think that it would just draw.
It may just draw them in. I don't know. That could be something to think about. But I'm going to talk about it anyways. So sacrificial plants or sacrificial garden. This is something that's good to plant and good to plant in your garden a little bit. And this is going to be a plant that you maybe you plant near some of your others that you allow it to get some of the bugs, or let the bugs go to that one and stay away from the rest of your garden over here, right? So that can be an example of a sacrificial plant. A sacrificial plant would also be one that I give additives, soil things and stuff like that to first, maybe a week before the rest of the garden. So if it dies, you don't kill off your whole garden. So like with the willow bark or the aspirin amendment, that one is very dependent on your soil's pH level. So if you're not aware of what your soil's pH is or how wet the soil is or things like that, it can have negative effects on the garden. So giving your sacrificial plant why are you smiling?
Because once they're in the freezer, they won't be in the garden.
Fishing laying around the garden. Oh, 556. Yeah, that's perfect. That's the solution right there. I like that. I can't do it here in the urban. If I shot something with my 556 here, that would be bad. Freedom seeds. Planting freedom seeds. Those are a whole other type of seed. Oh, okay. There you go.
This one is
so Willie is He's in one much more wooded area, much more wilderness area than we are, and he's actually up against a creek. So I'm assuming he probably has deer coming through. Willie over at Carolina Kind has a channel too. Check him out. Maybe pick his brain.
But like I said, sometimes our other people, unfortunately, here in the urban homestead can be our, I want to say pests. We did have our very first year growing pumpkins. We had like these huge jack-o'-lantern pumpkins that we just couldn't believe we grew. And there was 4, one for each of us. And we came out one day and it was just gone. And the only way the whole pumpkin could have just been gone was if somebody jumped over our wall and stole it. And it was kind of heartbreaking just because it was like our first year and we were so happy. Well,
gardening too, you can do absolutely everything right with gardening. I mean, you got to, some of it's just left up to God, left up to luck too, because you can do everything right and I had a rock fall off my wall. I had set a large rock up to hold part of the bird net on the wall and fell off and crushed my plant. So that plant was doing amazing. It was one of our Serrano peppers, and that was something we didn't have luck with this year. The one that was doing fantastic got killed by a rock.
So best thing to keep in mind when doing all of this is that you make plans and God laughs. And, in the end, it's going to be what it's going to be. Yeah. And
so I guess some of that, one of the last things I skimmed my notes that I missed. No, that's good. I just want to mention too, as we're kind of wrapping up our where to start talk, was what plants in your garden take priority. Yep. So this is something in my life, as well as in gardening and other areas, I'm constantly trying to work on too, is making sure you have, your core priorities and things as well. So when other things fall by the side or you can't get to them in chores or for whatever reason, that's going to be the sacrificial part. What are you prioritizing? So what, for us, it certainly would be feeding ourselves. That's going to take first priority, right? Because that's kind of where we started. Second would be what we sell, because selling stuff's helping produce that income that helps, get all that going. It's the oil. Money is kind of like oil. It lubes things.
Step back there a little. It's not just what we're producing for us, but what we're producing and we're able to preserve. If it's preservable, or do we know how to do it? So that is all there too.
So once again with the herbs, and actually I started doing this because of Verna. She says plant them in pots, big containers. Yeah, so mints and things. Some of the plants will completely overtake your garden and they'll become a pest themselves.
But yeah, so back on track. So what we're growing for ourselves, what we're going to sell.
Yeah, so Willie's going to plant. So this is something we do too. When I first selected plants, I selected a lot of seeds. Actually, they came from Arkansas, Missouri area. So they're in a similar zone as we are. They get a lot more moisture. They're a lot more humid. So they're not, I don't want to say similar to us, but the plants from there tend to work well for us as well. Now, when I watched my garden those first few years and every year, I watched the plants to see which ones do better with the heat. When I don't water something maybe for a day or two because we get real busy, which plants still look okay and which ones don't. Those are going to be the ones you definitely want to seed save from. And you want to continue. Maybe you have a pepper plant that does really good, and that's one you want to take inside every year. And because pepper plants will produce for several years. If
Matt needs his peppers.
I've run out of cayenne peppers almost already. I had so many when we started.
So
I've blown through them all.
I was telling Matt that I guess I knew in the back of my mind, but I found out recently that spicy food, it literally makes you happy. It releases endorphins in the brain and good chemicals. So maybe that's why we're always so cheerful. We've got all our spicy foods to make us happy.
We got all the endorphins from the
all the endorphins from the spicy foods.
Yeah. Plus, they're also really good for the chickens and dewormers. And I'm going to get into my herbal corner. So another thing we're doing, I just want to mention this too, and then I'll start wrapping up. But I kind of skimmed over with our growing for herbs, for selling, for teas and things. Another big push we're doing in 2025 this year is our medicinal herbal garden. So I don't know if you guys haven't checked out. We have a series going on. The first video came out. Every Wednesday, a video is going to come out for the entire year, and I have a lot of those planned. You can check out our website if you want to see our monthly Buy Sanctified. We'll see you. Thanks for coming. I'm going to shoot you an email. I actually need to mail you a letter. So I'm going to be doing that, but good stuff. But thank you for coming. Appreciate it. Anyways, what was I saying?
Oh no. Oh no.
I know.
You were saying. Oh gosh, I'm not help. See, I'm more help when I'm just watching you.
Oh, natural medicines, yes. So big push with, it's called Grafted Herbal Corner. And so you can check out. First one we did was a lemon ginger nausea. It's a cough drop basically, but this one's specifically for nausea. I've been taking them in the mornings and they've been great. If Jen knows that I have a huge problem with nausea in the morning. So I have half my intestines really. I had a lot of stuff and had things removed. I have a lot of digestive issues. So that's why I started with digestive for January. Also because people are coming off of the holidays, probably ate too much. So I thought digestive would be a good place to start. So that first video, we did those nausea drops. This next one, which is actually already done, comes out Wednesday, is on the gut health morning shot. And then we're going to be doing a yarrow bloat extract and then a Rejuvelac for digestive health. So those are for this month. But we're planting herbs as well, our medicinal herbs on purpose, purposeful ones to help us with medicines. So we can take care of the goal is to take care of our body in a much more natural way, to kick out the unnatural chemicals, all the stuff that comes with pharmaceuticals, and try to do it a better natural way. Now with that is much more preventive. So you want to be up on it. So we want to be doing that this year. So you're keeping things away. With doing natural approach is not necessarily as effective to killing symptoms always right away. So anyways, we're going to be doing a lot of that. Also for the sustainability factor. If you can't go buy a medicine in the store, you can't go get aspirin. Maybe knowing, hey, that willow tree out back, I can take its bark and I can turn that into aspirin. Or, hey, I could take I cut myself really bad. I don't have any quick clot. I found myself on a homestead now, so I'm away from a hospital. Well, the yarrow that's growing like a weed over there, I can grind that up, make a poultice, and stick it in there, and that'll stop the bleeding, a hemostat powder.
I think part of it, too, is that, we've been learning. This is just a learning journey. We're not giving medical advice. We're learning. If you ever stop learning or we ever stop learning, we have failed. But you should never come to a point where you stop learning. But part of that, too, is using what you have. So another big thing that we're going to utilize this year is we have a couple trees and other plants that we're not using the leaves of them. Carrots, too. So our peach tree leaves, our grape leaves, and we've used them here and there, but we really utilize what you have. Strawberry leaves, raspberry leaves. I did use a little bit of those this year in experimental tea. So that was my saying, is we used it, we used a little, and we learned that this year we want to... For periodical things, yeah. But this year we want to use what we have, right? Yep. So we're at the hour. I'm gonna wrap it up a little bit. No, go ahead. What were you doing? So if this isn't part of, Paul reminded me though, but this isn't part of the garden necessarily, but gut health, digestive health is that we've been doing sourdough. Yeah. And I've done some homemade yogurts and things like that. But we're specifically doing those things too for preventative reasons, gut health. Matt has mentioned his gut issues. And so those fermented breads, Casey made Parmesan crackers. I think we are going to be growing ginger. I'm going to make that succeed this year. I am dead set on it, Verna. I've been doing lots of research. Yes. And we will share. I lost my train of thought again. Yeah, or dogwood. But yeah, so it's like not just the garden, but other things you can do to help your gut health and preventative. So with the herbal corner, I mean the lemon, ginger, drops. I guess ginger you're growing in the garden. That's medicinal herb. Lemons, not really. So they're not all necessarily herbs. I guess the herbal corner. It's going to be for a natural approach to your health. And so that's where they're coming from. Just a lot of them include those herbs. Cool. So today's talk was really just a broad talk. There was a question I saw. If anyone else has any questions we didn't see, feel free to throw those down. I can't remember who asked it, but somebody was asking if chard will come back. Chard will come back. He was saying it doesn't seed till the second year. Oh, okay. So with seed saving too, there's some. I gotta do a whole seed saving episode. But yeah, some plants won't have seeds or necessarily real viable ones till that second year. Yeah. We have river birch, don't we? So all the plants I've planted in my yard at least are for. They have secondary reasons. So I have a river birch in my yard for that. Yeah.
The
Lemon
willow is
balm.
going to be the strongest and the I guess really kind of the best, but you can get it can be derived from other things as
We
well.
have our lemon balm does really well
Ooh, I
here,
love
Verna.
lemon balm.
So that's although I
Lemongrass, thanks to Verna.
really would, once the greenhouse is finished, like to get a dwarf lemon tree.
Yeah. Well, citrus, our trifoliate citrus, I've done some videos. I've planted it on stream. I've had no success with it. Papa Pepper actually even sent me a whole nother set of fresh seeds because I struggled and I can't get them to grow here yet. So we'll get that. That may have to be a plant I just buy and start off that way. But this was kind of just a broad talk. Hopefully get the juices flowing. It's a good time of year to start figuring out and actually jotting down what plants you want, why you're planting, what you're doing. And that can change throughout the year. Our plan definitely changes throughout the year. You want to be fluid with it. And from year to year, it changes too.
And it can change, there can be things that happen. So it never fails that there's like a hailstorm here in New Mexico.
Wipes out our garden.
And that just,
our beautiful spinach.
Attacks things. And
we always get a late
structures.
hailstorm in May that
it will weigh down structures. So I have to get out there usually because Matt's working
and
try and knock off the
so
ice.
We have a little infrastructure going up. Even just the 2x4s as poles. Now we can add shade cloth to that. I can add bird cloth. I can add a tarp if it's going to hail. So that little bit of infrastructure that may not necessarily be doing anything in the moment can be used to do things in emergency. Mm-hmm. A lot of things with the garden we're doing this year, infrastructure-wise. Actually, so coming up here in our Sunday morning lives, this was kind of where to start. Next week, we're doing soil starter, indoor soil. So we're going to be making that, and I'm going to be getting into outdoor soil a little bit too. I thought of some things I want to include there with some amending and getting our soil started. The next stream after that is going to just be an in the kitchen one. And then February, we hit hard with seed planting, seed starting inside. I'm going to probably that first week in February do my video on garden infrastructure, both being actively used and then used in like emergency, things like that. So preventive, I guess, type structure. So we'll be doing that and hitting all that stuff real hard coming up here.
So Verna, I did hear that a Meyer lemon is the one to do if you're a Meyer dwarf lemon tree, if you're needing like a greenhouse tree. So that's
12 Eastern.
Yeah.
Cool. So I guess that was a lot. We'll leave.
I hope you guys followed any of that.
Hopefully it's helpful to someone. But I'll leave this next few minutes. Just we can look at comments or any questions we may have before we sign out. But definitely be looking for the Herbal Corner video that we'll post Wednesday. On Friday, Herbal Corner video will post Wednesday. Where am I at? Where's my calendar? Yeah. And then on next Saturday, we have a build video that's going to post. And that one, it's either going to be just a video or I may release it in a Premiere earlier just to chat. And that's going to be by Silky Coop's nesting box. So you'll just kind of get to see the steps I took to build that. And then a little talk on nesting boxes. If you're doing a chicken coop, where you want them located in the coop so you get more laying and all those types of things, pecking and all. So we'll go into nesting boxes a little bit there. I don't know what that is. That would be, I think, our very first super chat. Hey, well, thank you very much, Dad. Appreciate that.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah, so we haven't gotten one yet, actually. So we're not monetized on this channel yet, but one of the things it allowed us to do is add super chat. So people probably see down on YouTube, it has a little dollar sign. I don't know. Anywho, you can click on that and you can do a little super chat. So that's the very first one. So we'll celebrate that. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. Always helps out. So that's going to go right into the garden and probably right into soil, into soil start stuff, peat moss and whatnot.
So also feel free to follow us on our other social media. I think it was Graham was talking. He was in Goudreau's live last night. Was that his name, Graham? And he was talking about use the social media that you are going to utilize. So YouTube, for example, is what Matt utilizes. Yeah. And that's how we got
Facebook.
to meet.
So this year I'm going to be more on Facebook as wanting to get into the groups and stuff more. I have to force myself to do that.
However, me and the kids utilize things like Instagram, and some other things. So because we do short clips of our cooking videos, Farmer Casey made Parmesan crackers. We're doing a pantry challenge.
Yep.
So it's a lot of cooking and
So you
recipes.
can check us out.
So check us out
Other
there.
social media.
And
Definitely, if you want to help out the channel, our shop is up and going.
Our website at graftonbranchhomestead.com.
Yeah, and you can get yourself some herbal teas. That always helps out. We got candles. Would you mind grabbing me these salts? So we released a video on cold smoked salt. I don't know if you guys saw or have actually even ever heard of that. You can check out our video, but I'll just show it real quick. We got this is our newest item in our shop, and so our shop, all the proceeds go to help out the homestead. Mm-hmm. Go to the things to keep us going here, as well as all the costs that come with doing YouTube and all that. On our website is Farmer Casey's branch, and all those proceeds go right to Farmer Casey. So one of the things we have that we just added, though, is our cold smoked salts. And so what I got here is 2.5 ounce flight, sample flight. And so this has pecan, hickory, and peach wood smoked salts. You can get a 3-pack there for just under $12, about 2.5 ounces. Each one's 23, 24 grams or so. Yeah, so something you can try out. You can help support us that way.
There's some free DIY plans on there on the website.
You get free stuff. Help support you yourself.
And really, it's we love doing this. Well, Matt loves doing this. I love helping Matt. But to not just for us, it's to help people, for the community, and to have that fellowship, as well as teach others. And the same reason we gift or sell plants is because we want to encourage others to grow their own food,
to live a better life, to live
what
closer, I think the way you should live,
to live closer to just the natural things. And
so you got it there. Smoked salts, you can put it on your meat before you cook it. Use it like a rub. You can sprinkle it on after. So we made some beef jerky and did smoked salt vinegar.
Did you make a video on that?
No, I did not.
No.
But we made a smoked salt vinegar, and I used a hickory smoked salt on there. And it's a good way of adding that smoky, savory flavor without having to actually smoke the product. Or you can even make cocktails with smoked salts. Yeah. Now, I don't do that, but you enjoy some every now and then. And so for people that do, you might want to try out some smoked salts.
So next time he just made jerky, but the next time he does, I'm gonna make a video. But
if we run out, let me know. Well, I'll put more in.
But we made jerky. We used a lean piece of roast
easy to do. And
we were gifted a wonderful dehydrator.
One of the things we splurge on from time to time is we like to buy some beef jerky.
It is my go-to treat. That and popcorn is my.
So we figured out we can take that same jerky. Now we don't buy this much at a time, of course, but if we were to spend, it's what we produced. So if we were to spend $60 on beef jerky, that same amount of beef jerky, we took a $20 roast and did it with.
Yep.
So
it was definitely saving money. And honestly, it didn't take a lot of time or energy. It's, you just...
Fish jerky. Verna, I tried your fish jerky and it was really good. Oh, no, she did freeze dried. We got to try that. Yeah.
So maybe that's the next thing on our list, is to try that jerky. And
I remember seeing you getting a local. Oh, was it Jerky Thin? Was that what I was probably talking about?
So
we love it.
That's one
that
get.
That's our guilty pleasure. But it is a small family business here, out of Albuquerque here. That there's just our family operates.
Actually, they're out of Edgewood.
Out of Edgewood, yeah. Their family operates it. And so we don't mind supporting them.
No.
If it, even sometimes if it's a few extra bucks when you're helping support someone.
They do ship. Jerky Thin does ship and have an online delivery. So if you're not here nearby,
and they don't know us at all, we have nothing to do with them. We're just saying.
But definitely go check out Jerky Thin's website. They're very good jerkies. My favorite is Christmas, which is red and green chili. But Matt did wonderful at making us some jerkies. Yeah.
Would you try it?
Sure. I'll try it.
We'll try it. We'll do a video. We'll make some fish jerky. That'd be fun. Okay, I'll have to put that on our schedule.
Sorry, we're over time. But
yeah, we're over a little bit. I actually have to work.
So. Dehydrated. Oh, it was dehydrated.
Yeah, hers was.
She says it's
hers was dehydrated, not freeze dried.
What else could we make
Pollock
jerky
is
out
what
of?
she used. Okay.
What other jerky could? So deer, we We need to go hunting, maybe. Could we make quail jerky?
Yeah. And it's not, yeah.
Make me quail jerky.
Has anyone in here tried quail jerky? You can't make freeze-dried jerky. Well, that makes more sense. Yeah, it would just fall apart. Well, you can. They have freeze-dried meats, and you reconstitute, but it's not going to be jerky. So I'm going to see if anyone answers here about quail jerky, and then we'll probably say goodbye.
How many people do we have?
It's good, but it's hard to make. Oh, okay.
How many people are there?
There's 13 in here right now.
Oh. Thanks for hanging with us, guys.
Al, you haven't tried quail at all? Where's Al located? Is it Canada? Who's in Canada's Knapp Farm?
You can.
But Canada's big. I don't know if
it
they're close
just
to you at
takes
all.
a lot of
You
time
think he's
to
west of them?
deboning. I think he's talking about the quail.
Oh, so I know Brad had a good way when he was showing the butchering classes. He showed me and Casey of most of the meat on the quail is on the breasts, and so when he butchers them, he just cuts the breasts off right away and pretty much uses that.
Okay.
And so there's no bone there, but yeah, Canada, I thought so.
Well, maybe that's our next fish and
If
quail
we were
jerky.
close, Al, I would bring you over a quail meal, but we are not close at all. I know Knapp Farms is up there in Canada, but I think they're western or eastern Canada. Canada's big. Learned a map from Brooke. Oh, hey, very cool. I haven't seen her in a minute here. I've seen her on Facebook.
She was in last night, but she worked late on the
she
Goudreau's
popped in?
live. But
Oh.
she just hopped in late, I believe, because she just got off work.
She
said.
does a lot, yeah, there. I follow her stuff on Facebook quite a bit. Quail jerky sounds good. It does. I use the quail leg quarters for hot wings.
Nice.
Very good. We need to do a good quail call. Cole here coming up. Quail call, Cole. All right. Well, we're going to wrap it up. We are going to be hopping off. The next time we're going to be live is going to be next Sunday.
He's going to be live.
I'm going to be live, and I'm going to get probably Farmer Casey in with me. We're going to do garden soil and talk all about that and prepping that. I might come live for a premiere for the Saturday one. We'll see. We'll see how that goes.
Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for joining. This is the boss lady, so y'all get to see her. You'll see her in chat under the Spice of Life family. So thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you, Verna, for moderating, and Willie's our moderator in here too. Thank you very much. What? No Spice again next week? No?
No.
So Spice actually, let me look here real quick. She's not next week. She's gonna be the following week though.
I don't.
I have us here for In the Kitchen with Grafted Branch. I didn't put with Spicy Mom, but maybe,
Yeah, you didn't put with spicy.
I'm thinking we might do a sourdough cooking thing maybe.
So you need help?
So we might need some help.
Maybe.
So we'll get her on again. But thank you very much for joining. I appreciate it. If you guys wonder when we're going to be on or what videos are going to be up, our basic skeleton outline of what we will be on or get up schedule is both at graftedbranchhomestead.com. And then I think I threw it up on Grafted Branch on Facebook as well. And so that's every month. You'll get a month of the videos and lives we'll be doing. And then we'll pepper that in with some other stuff as well.
Sounds good.
Thank you, everyone, very much for showing up. Really appreciate it and putting up with our talk. You guys all have a good week. Stay strong. Do the things.
Open sky, green pastures where the eagles fly. Breathe the air, feel the sunlight's kiss. This is the life that I never miss. Happiness in the simple things, so freedom sweet as the songbird sings. Come out of my people, it's time. Leave the hustle and bustle behind. In the country we'll plant our seeds, chasing freedom, fulfilling our needs. Here in the fields I find my way. A brand new life starts today. Here in the fields I find my way. A brand new life starts today. I've been stuck in this concrete maze, desires lost in a routine haze. Clock is ticking, 9 to 5 grind, but my heart's yearning for peace of mind. Grab my boots, it's time to go.